KREM 2 News begins now.
Thank you for joining us on KREM 2 Plus. I'm Tim Pham. This is your KREM 2 News Week in Review. Join us as we take a closer look at some of the biggest stories in the Inland Northwest this past week.
Since the trial for the Moscow murder suspect is delayed indefinitely, the FBI is now taking advantage of that extended time to gather their own measurements of the home to construct a model. Now, throughout the day, we saw investigators moving in and around the property, gathering images, and even moving leftover personal items outside.
The home where Xana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Gonsalves were killed 1 year ago still stands. Today, the plywood securing the windows and door of the house has been removed, and a specialized team with the FBI are on site collecting measurements and images. They launched a drone over the house this morning and appeared to be collecting images using 3D scanning technology. This will all be used to construct a model of the home. We won't learn much more about what the FBI is doing because it's still an ongoing investigation. So I asked Idaho's former state attorney general and county prosecutor, David Leroy, what he makes of this collection of evidence.
In this instance, it appears that the prosecutor is going to put some significant emphasis by virtue of a model and videos in terms of helping the jury understand how an alleged perpetrator might have moved through the house to get in, to go to whatever is alleged to be the first crime scene, to pass then to the second crime scene.
We noticed investigators are using Faro 3D laser scanners. The company's website says this technology can be used by law enforcement and prosecutors to reconstruct a crime scene and present it in the courtroom.
This is the diagram of today's courtroom. Everything you see here is measurable.
A demonstration video from Faro's website shows a few different ways to present the images, including a flyover view or virtual view of the scene.
But most importantly, you can create a specific viewpoint. What did that first responder see? What did that witness see? Or what could the witness maybe not see from that perspective?
It's not clear what version will be used in this case, but Faro's demonstration does give some insight into the possibilities.
Meantime, the house will get re-secured once the FBI is done here. Now, the university still intends to demolish the home, but it says it does not plan to do that this semester. Reporting in Moscow, Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
Now, this all revolves around a huge piece of the case, investigative genetic genealogy, which the state says was used to develop the first leads that pointed to suspect Brian Kohberger. In what could signal a win for the defense, Latah County Judge John Judge says the state must turn over all investigative genetic genealogy, or IGG, material by December 1st.
I'm asking to look at all this because I can't make informed decisions if I don't.
The judge wants to review it all privately to determine what to turn over to Brian Kohberger's defense team. In an October 25th order, he ruled they showed at least some of that material is essential to building a case. Citing filings from prosecutors, the judge says the FBI used a DNA profile found on a knife sheath at the scene, uploaded it to public genetic databases, and used social media, birth and death certificates, and other public info to build a family tree, which later led to Kohberger. The defense has asked for all the info on how investigators did this testing.
But I think that there's missing information from the Othram profile that we have. I'm hoping the court gets it, and I certainly understand that the court needs to see everything to make a decision. My hope is that everything includes communication so that you can follow the path of what happened.
The state has argued the FBI didn't directly compare DNA from the sheath to Kohberger's DNA, and the genetic genealogy testing won't come up at trial. Prosecutor Bill Thompson voiced concern the defense has false assumptions.
There are items that she thinks ought to be there that do not exist. But I don't think that the lawyers ought to get into this guessing game of what should and shouldn't be there, particularly since it is our position defense has a fundamental misunderstanding of the difference between SNP profiles and traditional DNA comparisons and how that process works.
We are not trying to mislead the court. We have been absolutely clear, and we've relied upon Department of Justice policy in our expectations.
Thompson says he's already notified the FBI it needs to turn over everything it has.
Let's start where we know we have things, and then we can go from there.
But Thompson warned it could take a month to get the FBI documents, as a request has to go through the bureaucracy of the Department of Justice. Now, there's no timeline on how long this review may take the judge. As we heard from prosecutors before, it's a lot of material. For now, a trial date is indefinitely delayed. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to be a part of something that I always thought was larger than myself.
That's why Hayden Powell says she enlisted in 1999. Stationed at Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana, she was trained as a radio operator. She loved the job, and her dad was so proud he started a scrapbook. Today, it's difficult for her to flip through the pages.
I was 21 when I was kicked out. I'm 45, and I'm still trying to get it together.
Powell served during the military's Don't Ask, Don't Tell era and says she kept her sexual orientation a secret, but someone outed her.
Came to me and let me know ahead of time that she had informed our first sergeant of my sexual orientation. And I looked at her and said, "You just ruined my career."
That same day, Powell was ordered to report to the base commander's office.
He started reading from a form that stated that somebody had said that I was a lesbian and that they were initiating an investigation into alleged acts of homosexual conduct.
Powell was kicked out of the Air Force, and her separation paperwork, or DD Form 214, lists homosexual acts as the reason.
Felt like a criminal. I felt ashamed, embarrassed, scared, and alone.
Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed more than a decade ago. Service members no longer have to hide their sexual orientation, but Powell says she's still being denied benefits other veterans are entitled to.
I can't get the VA one-time home loan, or just even the monthly veterans benefits, medical insurance. And because of what it says on my 214 and the discharge codes, I can't access those things.
Powell has joined a class action lawsuit against the Department of Defense, seeking justice for the estimated 35,000 LGBTQ+ vets discharged under Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
No one is seeking money damages. This case is about restoring honor and the government fixing all of these military records that it has had the opportunity to fix for over a decade.
35,000 people that decided willingly to serve our country, to defend rights and freedoms that we do not even have, or can't even enjoy ourselves.
In Spokane, Kyle Simcha, KREM 2 News.
Inside the Northern Quest Resort and Casino, a Washington committee is coming together to share and raise awareness about missing and murdered Indigenous women and people.
You know, families are really hurt. The people that are missing and murdered, they're our loved ones.
According to Washington's MMIWP task force, Indigenous women make up less than 2% of the state's population. Yet they're 4 times more likely to go missing than white women and face murder rates more than 10 times the national average. It's why this week,
the summit brings together all the key people.
The task force is bringing together tribal leaders, law enforcement, legislators, and loved ones of missing or murdered Indigenous people, sharing what's working and what still needs to be done.
The most important piece of the process is to improve communication between all agencies. That's how we are able to respond better.
Monica Tenasket says the Spokane tribe has written a community response plan to quickly act on reports of missing or murdered Indigenous people. That plays off Washington's Missing Indigenous Person Alert System, rolled out in summer 2022. The first such system in the nation.
Previously, you used to have to wait a number of hours before you could even report somebody missing. And now it's just a matter of minutes.
Statewide, the Attorney General's office has committed new support for such cases, creating a cold case unit. In Washington's Eastern District, a new assistant U.S. attorney will be tasked specifically with handling these cases.
Through those task forces, we're increasing our communication and collaboration to make sure that cases don't fall through the cracks and that families can know who they can turn to for information about their missing loved ones.
Sharing and collaborating in hopes this summit brings about more progress and awareness.
We can all play a role in improving the outcomes.
The summit continues Thursday, where loved ones of missing or murdered Indigenous people can share their stories and participate in healing circles. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
Inside a factory, where the sound of saws and lumber makes it difficult to think.
This is our CNC machines.
These massive boards are paving the way for some even bigger ideas.
So each one of these is one layer of the panel.
But it all starts with this. Some of the smallest trees in the forest. At 8 to 12 inches in diameter, these logs are too small for your typical mills, but plenty big enough to start a wildfire.
We have this environmental forest health crisis leading these catastrophic fires.
Washington's Forest Health Plan calls for reducing wildfire hazards, but until recently, removing these smaller pieces of wood was expensive, with cost limiting the amount of forest cleanup work the state could do.
We never had somebody who could buy that smaller diameter, and therefore we couldn't sell it, and when you can't sell it, it either rots on the forest floor or gets burned, and then creates an environmental challenge for us.
Enter mass timber. The factory in Spokane Valley is one of 2 mass timber facilities in Washington, offering the state a revenue source for the smaller wood as it seeks to clean up forests and prevent wildfires.
So in order to make the 60-foot long boards, we have to take all those little shorter 6 to 16-foot boards and finger join them together.
Mass timber refers to large wood products like these 60-foot panels. Mercer Mass Timber specializes in cross-laminate timber, or CLT. The process allows the company to make use of shorter boards, which it bonds together to create massive wood panels. Those panels are then cut to fit together.
We know exactly where that piece in all the millions of square feet, it's got a unique spot that it gets dropped into.
A process that's a lot like...
It's like putting a package of Lego together, following the directions. You know, every piece has a place for it.
And if you're wondering what those pieces can create, just take a peek outside the factory doors.
The 2 levels, the main levels, were done in one day in the middle of probably the worst blizzard of that winter.
Seattle-based Green Canopy Node worked with Mercer to build this test house, which came together 49% faster than a typical build, a significant time savings in a region starved for more housing.
It's all pre-planned, pre-engineered, and it's just assembling the thing, so it makes it much simpler.
The company will take what it learned from this build and use it on future products that are planned to go up in Seattle and Portland next year.
We're in the state of Washington. We can fly things the size of buildings through the air. We need to apply that mentality to helping to solve our housing crisis.
Back in the forest, the hope is that more mass timber-based construction will mean more forest cleanup and fewer large wildfires.
And now we've been able to take that environmental challenge of dying, dead, diseased trees and burn into the atmosphere and turn it into a wood product that actually can make our built environment cleaner and greener, and it also can help truly build at a faster pace and scale the kinds of homes that we need to address our housing crisis.
People come together for a variety of reasons, to celebrate, mourn, or mark a special occasion. But at the center of it all, it's food that helps us connect. It's what continues to bring strangers together at this Coeur d'Alene home every other Monday night.
I don't think that I've done anything special here other than create space.
Adam Schluter came up with Monday night dinners shortly after moving to the neighborhood from Mexico.
And if you need to put it in the fridge, you can.
He knew no one here, so instead of using social media, he decided to meet his neighbors the old-fashioned way.
I'd just say hello to people, and then I'd introduce myself and would have a conversation, a genuine conversation. And at the end of it, if it was a genuine connected conversation, I'd invite them to have dinner at my house after.
That night, he cooked up a dinner for 11 strangers.
It was a mess, and we had nothing. We had water and crappy food, but everybody sat around the table and said how much they had been needing the same thing.
That shared need for connection and genuine conversation is what sparked the idea for the Monday night dinners.
It's amazing how much has grown.
Mary was at that first dinner, and she's continued to join in the last 7 years.
I've forged, a few really close relationships, and I just enjoy meeting all the different people that come here.
There aren't any rules, except bring a dish and invite someone new.
My family recipe.
Over the course of 7 years, some 200 people have formed new relationships around these tables. Adam says these dinners have become a source of hope and happiness to many.
For me to have people that come up to me and said that this has saved their life, yeah, it's an honor.
He admits these gatherings pulled him out of a dark place.
I was suicidal when I started this. I had no purpose. I felt all alone.
75 dinners later, Adam isn't alone anymore. He's surrounded himself with a community connected by food, the key ingredient for friendship. Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
Built in 1967, the Parkade was designed to attract shoppers and businesses to downtown Spokane in the post-World War II boom, as residents moved to outlying suburbs where strip malls and shopping centers were popping up. Decades later, it's still a popular place to park and get a little dizzy. Next week, Spokane City Council members are expected to add the Parkade to Spokane's Register of Historic Places, as recommended by the Spokane Historical Landmarks Commission. Once listed, the Parkade could be eligible for property tax abatement, facade improvement grants, and special code considerations. The owner of the parking garage, GT Mukilteo LLC, has agreed to follow guidelines for maintaining historic buildings and must get permission from the Historic Landmarks Commission before any demolition, change in use, or any work that affects the exterior appearance of the Parkade. The parking garage held a grand reopening last month. Since the spring of 2021, crews have been repairing the concrete floors and ceilings, which have suffered from years of salty moisture from snowmelt dripping off vehicles. Construction crews also installed new lighting and gave the structure a fresh coat of paint. Council members are expected to approve the Parkade's application during Monday night's meeting. In Spokane, Kyle Simcha, KREM 2 News.
It's all metal all the time back here.
Before anything happens in this kitchen, you've got to lock in.
I'm doubling down.
All it takes is a little bit of music to get in the right mindset. That's just how the man in charge of these elements likes it around here.
The kitchen is kind of like the centerpiece of a lot of houses, and this is no different here.
Chef George is head cook at the Northeast Youth Center in Hilliard. It's a position he wears with pride and one he believes was basically a perfect match.
Well, it's great because they keep me young, obviously, and keep a smile on my face.
The responsibilities that come along with this job include crafting a menu for every day of the week.
From scratch, in my own particular way.
Balancing the art of finding meals children will enjoy, but also giving them the proper nutrition they need to grow strong.
So that is the challenge here, is getting them to accept things that are different, but frame it in such a way that it's not alien to them.
On the menu today, enchiladas paired with homemade sauce, Spanish rice, roasted veggies, and a little honeydew on the side.
Bright and sweet to go with the kind of heavy, robust flavors of the beef enchiladas.
Creating these meals is more than just a job, though. With each plate, Chef George is reminded of his childhood.
Yeah, I grew up really poor in a neighborhood just like Hilliard, rougher than Hilliard. And, food wasn't always an option. If school wasn't in session, it wasn't guaranteed.
Those moments now serve as motivation while he's in the kitchen. He's a father of 4 and has more than just his own children who look up to him.
So I'm really proud of this one.
And once the food reaches each child at the center, it's all the validation Chef George needs.
You don't have to eat it open. You love rice? Here, get 1 scoop of rice.
He knows what he does is making an impact in his community, one meal at a time.
And so this place is, in my opinion, the beating heart of the Northeast Youth Center. This kitchen.
From Hilliard, Brandon T. Jones, KREM 2 News.
Thank you for joining us here on KREM 2 Plus for a look at some of the biggest news stories of the past week. For the most current news throughout the weekend, you can watch our latest newscast right here on KREM 2 Plus. Just look for them in the bottom navigation menu. I'm Tim Pham. Thanks for watching.